Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another installment of the National Visibility March Meets the Team series. My name is Twan. I am a Black trans man, leader, advocate, content creator, and organizer, someone who has spent years of working within our community to create spaces where people can show up fully as themselves. And I have the privilege of serving as your moderator for tonight's conversation. Tonight is especially meaningful to me because this conversation is happening during Pride Month. And as we continue building momentum towards NTVM 2026 in Puerto Rico, we wanted to create an opportunity for our community to create so we can hear directly from our leaders, helping shape the vision, the logistics, the policy work, wellness programming, the media strategy, and overall the coordination of this historic gathering. So also at a time when transgender communities continue to face attacks on our rights, on our visibility, on our very existence. Events like National Trans Visibility March remind us of the power of community, collective action, and showing up for one another. So tonight, we will discuss why we march, what goes on in organizing our events on this type of scale, what attendees can expect during the NTVM weekend, and how each and every one of us can contribute to building a stronger movement. So before we begin, I want to welcome my incredible panelists. So please join me in welcoming Vanity Reed Denterville, Asher, Elder Dr. Reverend Carmarian, Gayla Gore, Derek Baugh, Manny Vega, and Lakeisha Buford. Thank you all for being here. All right, to get us started, I would like each and every one of you to briefly introduce yourselves, share your role with NTVM, and tell us about what part of NTVM 2026 means to you personally. And we're going to start with Vanity Reed Denterville on down.
Thank you so much, Twan. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your Thursday evening to meet and speak with us. My name is Vanity Reed Dieterville. I respond to she and her. I'm hailing from North Carolina. Uh-oh, I'm hearing someone can't hear. I just want to double check and make sure we can. Twan, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm hailing from the state of North Carolina, from South Carolina, Carolina through and through. I am very joyed and honored to be a part of the National Trans Visibility March. Last year was actually my first year participating in the march. And after seeing what great effort went into planning and executing the march, I'm honored to be back from my second go around. I actually had the fond opportunity of visiting Puerto Rico earlier this year as a member of a cohort, and meeting with the constituents and the local community members there. Right now, the title that I have bestowed upon me for the sake of the march is the Strategic Director of Policy and Safety. Essentially, I'm going to have quite a hands on approach when it comes to the Thursday event. of the March, and that will be the Policy, Safety, and Wellness Summit. That summit is going to comprise of several sessions as well as breakout panels. And I am excited to talk with folks from the United States as well as locals from Puerto Rico about what trans and visibility means across the spectrum. There are a lot of things at stake right now, policy wise, as it relates and informs our safety as trans people. And one of the things that I think it's important to do as citizens of the United States is to really take seriously the concerns and the experiences of our trans siblings in Puerto Rico as a US territory. A lot of conversations have come up even in the planning of this march, right? The statehood of Puerto Rico, it being treated like a colony. We really need to take a step back and understand what our rights and visibility mean in America and for our folks in US territory. So I'm excited to really dig in. I'm excited to amplify our visibility and to continue moving this torch forward in the fight towards liberation.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for the work that you do. Next, who do we have? Manny Vega.
Hi everyone, I'm Manny Vega. I'm the Office Outreach Manager for Game Changing Men. Marching for me is amazing. I went to the first march and was it was beautiful. And to be a part of it now, to be the safety, to be behind the scene, the visibility, even being behind the scenes, still being visible, is important. The amazing people we meet on this journey that has also been a part of putting this all together, to take it to Puerto Rico. And I'm part Puerto Rican, and to have all this everybody with the visibility. And there's a lot of things to be fearful for, but when we come all together, and I'm just appreciative to be a part of this team.
Thank you so much, Manny. Thank you so much for the work that you do as well. Elder Dr. Reverend Carmarian.
Thank you so much. And I'm well. Thank you so much. And good evening to everyone. I'm Reverend Dr. Elder Carmarian D. Anderson. I use the she series pronouns. I yell at the moment now. I'm a Ohioan, so I'm in Cleveland, Ohio, where I actually serve with the United Church of Christ National Ministries. In my role with the National Trans Visibility March, I believe this is my 5th or 6th year, I will serve again as the National Strategy Director of our faith-based and wellness and empowerment initiative. And so when we talk about the march, you know, as a Black woman of trans experience and of faith, who is ordained, who's a parent, who's an activist, I march, and just like so many of us, because the very existence is our testimony. And I march because there was a time when people who looked like me were told that they had no place in church, in society. And when you come to the march, there is a place for you. There is a home for you. There's a community, and there is siblings. You can show up just the way that you are. And many of us do that in our leadership. We build wonderful connections. It's a family reunion. But more importantly, we stand by the grace that the Creator has given us, because we're out there to make a change and we will not be erased. This march is so essential because it is putting on the front line us that are trans identified and gender expansive, our visibility, because it does matter. And why it matters, because you can't affirm what you refuse to see. And we want the world to know that we exist, particularly those that are Black and brown. I'm excited that it's going to be in Puerto Rico. I'm very excited because our siblings there requested, and we are honoring their request as we move the march each year from year to year. My biggest role is to encourage my siblings of the transgender and gender expansive community during this march that whatever your faith background, whether you believe or don't believe, how essential that you are a faith person just because of the mere of your existence and your creation. You have purpose, and I hope that you will meet us with your purpose in all of your faith and whatever that looks like at this year's march in Puerto Rico.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you. And we definitely appreciate the work that you have done throughout all of the years. We would love to hear from Derek Ball next.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Derek. I use he, him pronouns. I am the Director of Programs at Game Changing Men. For the March, I'm serving in the capacity of Strategic Director of Admin. So a lot of the background, communications, the different moving pieces, I have my hands in that. Looking forward to a great time this year.
Thank you so much, Derek. Lakeisha, how are you this evening?
Hi, everyone. I am Lakeisha Buford. I am serving this year as the communications and marketing strategist. I also work with Game Changing Men here in Atlanta. I am so grateful to be able to take part of the march this year. This is my second year, and I think it is very important that the work that we're doing is amplified across the nation, globally. So I take my position serious because we are the forefront of getting the message out. So I'm thankful to be a part, and I can't wait to see the impact that we make when we touch ground in Puerto Rico.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Buford. Mrs. Kayla.
Hello, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you all for having me here today. I'm honored to be a part of the National Strategy Team. I will be working with logistics for the National Trans Visibility March. And as a Black trans woman, as an advocate, an organizer, a leader, a mother, a thought leader, committed to advancing the equity and justice and the liberation for all transgender and gender expansive communities across the country. I'm super excited that this year will be in Puerto Rico alongside so many other advocates and organizers. Members of the community who are working like to create a world where trans people can live safely, openly, and with dignity. I look forward to building connections with all of you and sharing strategies and space and continuing to uplift the work and the voices of trans leadership. Thank you for having me. I'm also the founder and executive director of My Sister's House. I'm located here in Memphis, Tennessee, and I'm looking forward to this. When trans people take to the streets, people start to pay attention and people start to listen. I've been a thought leader with the founder, Marissa Miller, since the creation of the Trans Visibility March and well before then. So I'm really excited that we're expanding to Puerto Rico, a place that has been severely hit by natural disasters as well as disasters from the White House.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Gore, and the work, and thank you for the work that you do. And we would love to hear from you, Asha.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Asher McMaher. My pronouns are they, them. And this is actually my first year with the National Visibility Trans March. And I'll be serving as your Accessibility Strategic Director. I'm located in Chicago, Illinois, and I am the Executive Director of Trans Upfront, which is an organization that supports trans youth through the lens of access. I'm actually also a deaf person. And so for the last 10 years, I've been working in the intersection of gender and disability justice, because we know without access, there is no equality. And to make sure that along the way, that every aspect of this event, that there's no one left behind, that we're able to accommodate needs within our parameters and our abilities, and just have an amazing event that really brings in people from all different abilities and backgrounds to really uplift the fight for trans rights.
Thank you so much for all of those introductions. Like, it is clear that we have an amazing team bringing together a wide range of experiences and expertise. So let's jump into the first conversation. Why we march. One thing I've learned through my own journey is that visibility means something different to everyone and to all of us. And for some people, it's freedom. For some, it's responsibility. For some, it's survival. And so I would like to start there. My first question to the group is, what does National Trans Visibility March matter, or why does it matter right now? Anybody can jump in.
Okay,
I'll jump in real quick. Hey,
Okay, go.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kayla. I apologize. Go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say there have been a lot of attacks on our basic human rights, and we marched to make it clear that transgender people belong everywhere. Just to give a prime example, the equal access rule is something that we're marching about. The repeal of that. My sister's house, we do work around affordability and housing for trans and gender expansive people. And this rule was put in place in 2016. This was a year after my sister's house was created to provide emergency housing and shelter. Now we're in a space where we're having to march to really bring light to the fact that we're still facing housing insecurity, but we're also marching to celebrate our joy, our culture, and our power. I'm really excited to be immersed in the culture of Puerto Rico. We also march because there are people who came before us that fought for the freedoms that we have today, who are now our ancestors. So we're fighting to uphold their legacies. And most importantly, we march to remind the world that transgender people are not, we're not a political issue. We're a people. We're a group of folks who should be able to do as we please.
I love that answer. I love that. And Derek, let me ask you, what does what does visibility mean to you personally, and how has that definition evolved over time?
So I'll answer that question, but I'm gonna go back to the point I was gonna make before Kayla finished, which Kayla spoke to legacy, and when I think about the rights that we have in this country as Black people first, a lot of those rights came from hard fought battles, and a lot of those battles involved our ancestors marching. And I do look at it as a legacy sort of thing. Like, now it's our turn to do the thing, kind of like the baton is passed. I remember I remember being in the room with Miss Lynn when the conversation of the march first came up, and I remember her saying, and if y'all don't know Miss Lynn is the mother of the march. I remember her saying, though, in the same way that they have a 1 million man march, we need a 1 million trans march. And she was speaking at that moment to visibility. People need to know that we exist. We're here. We are your siblings, your aunties, your uncles. Like, we your folks. And we need to be able to live and exist in this society as well. And we can do it harmoniously, but you won't step on us. So I think that speaks to the representation question that you're asking, Twine. What it means to me is that people can see us outside of a narrative about us tricking people, outside of a narrative about us trying to harass children. They can see us in our humanity and in our entirety as people. I think the march is a fabulous opportunity for that.
Thank you. All right, Asher, could you tell me, why does the National Visibility March, why does it matter right now to you?
It matters so much because we march to show those who can't that we're here. We march for those who are still finding their way, for those who are too scared to be who they are, for those who are fighting on the ground in their areas and don't have the ability to be public. We fight for our youth and young people who deserve to see that there are people who are fighting for them, and that we want them to grow up to be the amazing trans adults they're meant to be. Right now, our youth are under attack. And we know from our ancestors and everything that we've been through that paved the way for us, that we're showing them that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and we're going to pave a way for them, regardless of how hard things are right now. And so for me right now, the National Trans Visibility March matters, so that those who don't have the privilege to live their authentic life or have that voice can see that we will be as loud as possible for them.
I love that. All right. And Dr. Karmarian, I just want to ask you, why is it important that trans people continue creating our own spaces and our own movements and our own narratives?
Yeah, I'm going to merge the both because we must center this political climate that we're living in, where the transgender, gender expensive community is so under attack. We've been like this for a few years, generally across states, but when federal have stepped in, there's a greater fear. But while we know that the fear is present, we must still march because our visibility is so necessary. It provides a educational opportunity. It provides an opportunity for them to see us as humans, to humanize our opposition to what they're trying to throw at us. We march because the rights and dignity and humanity of our community continues to be challenged, whether that's through legislation, courts. We cannot forget about the schools. So even the local schools, the school boards, and in communities across the nation. But why is it important for us? I'm going to use the word visibility, and you use the word, creating opportunities for us, because we as transgender and gender expansive people know that progress is not maintained by silence. I can take that to church, okay? Because we march to remind the world that we are not an issue to be debated about, right? Mm-hmm. It's almost like, when I was a child, or even when I was raising my own child, you hear them scream, "Leave me alone," because we called it picking. And that's what we're experiencing. We just happen to be the community that they want to pick on. And ironically, there are still more of them that are less than us, right? So that lets me to believe that even with our small number of our siblings, we are a threat to what we call conservatives and the conservative powers. We march because our presence is so important for our protection. And we protest to make sure that our voice is being amplified, whether that's local, nationally, in the media. But it is really centering our hope and our public witness that we are who we say that we are, and we do not need to be legislated against. Why it's important also for us to create our own movement, whether that's an executive order, whether that's legislative order. I'm reminded, and because I am a Christian, but also interfaith preacher in the Old Testament, which is really centered across many of faith, I preached on Sunday about the life of Daniel. And even though there was an executive order that was a decree where everyone prays to the king, but Daniel refused to do so because Daniel was praying to his God. And in the aftermath of that, there were some jealous people like our conservatives, right? That literally is trying to throw us into a den. And in that den are lions, but we are not a snack to them, right? Because I believe what we have been ordained in our humanity and our authenticity, that what was meant for evil for us will be turned around for those that are intentionally, because they know what they're doing. They just have bad behavior, right? But it's going to be turned to them, and they will be thrown into the den, because we're not a snack to them. But those that are persecuting us is, and they will find out that we are the truth. And I say this often: the more we show up and the more we share about our lived experience through storytelling, visibility, protests, even while we're out, this is Pride Month, even in our Pride events, when we show up, we are really showing the world that we are the blueprint and we are the change that so many people are desperately crying for in the earth right now. And so I want to affirm my siblings is that keep moving. Don't get distressed. Don't get despair. Keep focusing on you. One story about Daniel is that even though Daniel was persecuted for just doing Daniel, Daniel never stopped being Daniel. And baby, do not stop being you, because no executive order, no legislation, nothing can erase what has already been ordained in the earth. That's the whole existence of you living out your truth. And perhaps if they watch us close enough and stop demonizing us, they too can live out their truth.
I love that. I love that. You know, and we only been a few minutes in, and I feel like I just need an offering play, right?
Oh, God.
but one thing I'm hearing throughout this conversation is meaningful visibility requires intentional leadership and planning. So that brings us to our next topic. I think sometimes when people see a march or a conference, they don't realize how much heart and how much work and strategy and intentionality goes into like creating these spaces. So let's talk a little bit about the people behind the work. So I would love each one of you to talk about your role within NTVM and how your work contributes to the overall experiences. So Mrs. Kayla, let's start with you.
Awesome. Thank you for starting with me. So my role around logistics is making sure that people can get there, they can get home, and while they're there, they're safe. When we're thinking about a march, there are a lot of intricate pieces that goes into keeping people safe during a march. And that's knowing your route, that's knowing who you're marching with, knowing where the safety spots are for if things go awry. Like, how are we getting folks who may be differently, whose bodies may be differently abled? I hope I said that right. And Asher, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but making sure that people who are living with disabilities have the knowledge of where these safety spots are, making sure that there are marshals there who can make sure they're looking out for folks who might not be able to run if we need to run, but we're not going to have to run because we're really connected with the local environment there and the people who are on the ground in Puerto Rico who've been doing the work. So that's what's unique about this march and the logistics that we're working on, is that we're not coming into a space that we don't know anything about. We're coming into a space with community who's very familiar with our route, with the reason that we're there to march, and also with the local officials, because there has to be buy-in from the locals in order for this to really become off as a successful march.
Okay, and Ms. Buford, could you tell me about how your role within NTVM, how your work contributes to the overall experience?
So with my work, I make all of the amazing videos and graphics that you guys see daily. Also to deliver information that we need via website, email, text message, if once we get on the ground. So I'm basically your communication, and yeah.
And Mrs. Detreville, could tell me what excites you the most about planning the process for Puerto Rico in the march?
Of course. Thank you for the question. I should also name, because I didn't before, and I thank all of the other amazing strategy directors for prompting and reminding me that I am serving as a co-executive director for the LGBTQ Center of Durham here in the Bold City of North Carolina. That leadership, coupled with the experience of organizing the march behind the scenes, I think sharpens my focus on what our fight to liberation is, right? We have seen copycat legislation arise, pass, be vetoed, overridden vetoes from state legislature to state legislature. We've seen the impact of some of those policies trickle down to school boards, as Reverend Dr. Elder stated earlier. School boards are getting even more politicized. Our children and our youth are being used as the wedge issue to justify what kind of dignity or access to a quality life we should or should not be granted as Americans, right? But then we get into the concept of what it means to be a United States territory. not a state, but a territory. And I think it's important to differentiate between the quality of life and the access to visibility or opportunity that some of our siblings are experiencing in Puerto Rico. My goal is for us to have an understanding not only of the policies that are impacting us across contiguous United States, but as well as the global South and to trans people throughout the trans diaspora. We talk and we think about as Black people, diasporic Black people, from our connection globally. And I think we need to start framing our minds to think about what it means to be trans and hold that experience globally as well. Because if state to state can copy legislation and get them successfully enacted in state law across the country, who's to say the same tactic won't be used from country to country and continent to continent? So I think it's time that we wake up and we pay attention to what really our concerns are and our experiences are happening in real time, but at many different places across this planet. And that's the goal to, I think, this fight towards liberation. I'm excited to have conversations through plenary sessions and workshops that talk to a myriad of issues that we're dealing with at the same time. Many of us are raising children. Many of us are children, have families, biological or not. Many of us are sisters, brothers, uncles, you name it. We're caretakers. We receive care. We've been painted out to be illogical people, unsensible people, irrational people, folks that move and operate without reason. I think the more we continue to humanize ourselves as people who are capable of handling responsibilities, are capable of giving care, are capable of nurturing and raising humans to be decent adults, that we begin to get more of the dignity and the visibility that we really imagine for ourselves. Because we know with the visibility that we've gained, it's at the expense of who feels we are too visible in that moment, right? And if we appear to be too visible, then there's a lashing against our access to a quality of life. So, what does it mean to be trans? Is it just our identity? Or is it being able to hold that in this society while also in continuing to show up as a decent human, as someone that can be responsible, as someone that can be a confident and trustworthy, as someone worthy of raising and nurturing family and investing into the next generation of trans leaders? What does it mean to be trans in the trans diaspora? I think I'm excited to explore that more for our policy and safety summit.
I love that. I love that. So planning is one thing, but creating an experience where people feel safe, supported, and empowered is another. So let's talk about what the attendees can in the community can expect. Like what I appreciate about the march is not just about showing up; it's about creating an experience again where people feel welcomed, affirmed, and connected. So let's talk about what folks can expect. Manny, can you speak about the safety, wellness, and accessibility and support systems that's being developed for the attendees?
We're providing a space where people can feel welcome to show up, learn from the summit, and feel comfortable coming as they are. We're putting in protocols to make sure people are just safe in the event of the summit and the march. We do have teams set up, ability of people and people that can't walk or like myself, which I appreciate. They've been doing this for years, so this is nothing new. We're good with it. We just want people to be able to enjoy themselves and know that they'll be safe with us.
I love that. I love that. National Trans Visibility March is also showing up, but showing and meeting people where they are, and that's very important, especially when it comes to our community. Now, Derek, if you could tell me, like, what makes this year's gathering so unique?
I think
And
some of
also
the things that
understanding that there's a certain way to show up. It's about
um, Twan, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Um, so I think some of the things that make it unique are the political landscape. We've certainly been in tight spots before, but this pretty tight. I think it being in Puerto Rico, that's a first. Um, and I think that visibility, I think visibility it's a two-sided coin. It's costly, but it's more necessary now than ever. And I think a lot of people are seeing it firsthand. I know some barbershop conversations or just very informal conversations that I've been privy to have been like, I'm okay with that trans thing, but they just everywhere now, which to me says like, no, we've been here, we're just more visible now, and now you see us. And so I think the march is a very real way to showcase that, because it is something that needs to be showcased, the humanity of people, of trans people. And I think we change hearts first and then we change minds. And so seeing people and perhaps listening, I think I'm hopeful that we can begin that process with a lot of naysayers.
So could someone tell me like what are some things community members may never see that are like critical to making this march successful behind the scenes?
I'm just gonna take a stab at it, but other strategy directors, please jump in. I will say, and I think this is universal to just organizing, period. It's resources. Being able to gather the resources to make sure that everything we're saying can come to fruition without risking people's safety and their comfort and their dignity. So I would definitely say that's a big piece of any movement, any strategy session, is making sure that you have the resources to pull it off, as well as some follow-up support for people who may be adversely affected by this march. Because as Derek so eloquently said, visibility is a two-sided coin. It can cost you some things, and it can also afford you the ability to have some sort of privilege by being out on the front line. So we definitely have to think about the right here, the right now, and the present, but we're also thinking forward to the future and how we're holding folks after the march as well. So that's a big part that people rarely see, is how we put this thing together with the minimal resources that we do have.
I love that.
Yeah, I'd like to add to what Kayla is also sharing, because I think it's important for our audience to understand that the planning for this march is not for the faint of heart. Let me start there first. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of relationship building. I want to affirm that, this time next year, for those that are interested in being able to be used with the gifts and experience they have, we welcome more. But I'm appreciative that we have a combination of gifts and experience to try to plan and move this. Sometime we're up, sun down, because we want to make it a relevant march, right? We don't want to be like other convenings where they planned a year ago, but it's no longer relevant for where we're living. So as we're speaking now, there are still planning. When we're seeing comments of how people are excited, or when we notice that someone says that will X, Y, and Z be offered at the march, we take all that in real time and in consideration. This march is not about us who are planning. This march is for our community, right? And it's just so happened that our founder, Marissa Miller, was the one that was ordained to birth this out. And we are just, respectfully, a binary term. We're just kind of the midwives and the mid-humans, being able to deliver this. The ask that I have, because, I'm a Black preacher and I do believe in offering, is that it does take monetary. And so my ask is that if you can find yourself donating whatever that dollar amount is to the National Trans Visibility March, every dime go back into the, let me be prophetic, because I know some things. Every dime goes back into the march. No one takes anything to themselves. It goes back into the community. And we have been so fortunate that when the march is over, we remain in the black and not the red. So I do want to say that because of your generosity from our institution sponsorships, even to individual. And so it does take monetary resources, but it's also going to take you showing up. We are working hard to make sure that the programmatic is so intersectional that you will leave knowing that we were intentional about creating a programmatic, fun, fellowship, and also spirituality and empowerment to the programming. With that also being said, I'll bridge to why faith has been so included since the foundation of this march. With Black and Brown individuals, we understand that faith and religion and church hurt is real when we start living out our testament of our truth. And so it behooves us that we show up and encourage folks that we're not angry. And I'm going to use kind of a Christian term for who I serve, but we're not angry at God. We're angry at the people who say that it's from God. And those are two different things. So when you show up this year, like every year, you will find a wonderful opportunity pretty much each day of clergy who is standing on the front line with us as siblings to show the world and to prove to these religion and Christian nationalism that they have it wrong. So we will have a full day of faith, empowerment, and wellness. Each year, I have the wonderful opportunity with a team of mine to create an interfaith worship service. And you will be the first to hear what I feel that our theme will focus on for this year, which will be created for such a time as this, rising in hope and rooted in courage. Because during that moment, we want to gather our hope and we want to expound and share our shared courage in a collective witness way. So created for such a time as this, we are rising in hope and rooted in courage. And then we'll have workshops that will center around this particular focus around such as a time as this, because your creativity is so important to us. We have that in mind. So you'll have wellness and empowerment workshops. And then the day of the march, as always, you will have an army of clergy who will be identified within their wardrobe, who will be there not only to protect us, especially our clergies that are allies, to surround us in the spiritual love and protection we need, but also to be visible, to let the world know that they got it wrong. And that if we're looking for any humanity that is spiritual, we need to be focusing on the transgender and the gender expansive community. Because why? Because we're not hypocrites in the earth. We are living out our destiny and our truth. And so I'm excited to share that the faith component for another year was highly requested, and we will deliver. And we will love you to be in the space. So if you're able to show up, please do so. If you cannot, please consider giving I almost want to say an offertory like I'm in church, but a donation to the cause and to the need. This work cannot go on without those resources. And I guarantee you will be very much encouraged if you show up. And for those that cannot, we will be living some of the events that we have. And I hope that wherever you will be at, that you will be encouraged during the week of the National Trans Visibility March.
Thank you. Thank you. And then, but as we begin wrapping up, I want to make sure that we leave people with a clear understanding of how they can stay involved. And so we are taking any questions from the community or the audience. Do we need the audience have any questions they would like to ask any one of our panelists? No questions. Okay. All right. So, what I would like to do, I would like to ask one final question to each and one of our panelists. 30 seconds or less. What message would you like to leave with our community about National Trans Visibility March 2026? We'll start with you, Mrs. Caleb.
I was going to allow somebody else to go first this time. One simple message under 30 seconds. Wow. I would definitely say that we want to see you in the space. And if we don't see you in the space, we hope that you see yourself in the space.
I love that. Asher.
You know, my lens is through access. So my hope for anyone is that they feel safe and seen and open to communicating about their needs so that they can have an incredible experience of community, whether it's sign language interpreters, it's Braille, it's access for people who have limb differences or use accessibility tools. We want you there. And we want, while you're there, if you run into anything, to talk with us. You are part of our community, and we'll make sure there is always space for you.
Thank you, Ms. Vanity.
You know, one of the things that I like to think about is a mantra that my great grandfather taught me long ago, in that there's truly nothing new under the sun. I believe and know that to be true about trans people. I think the only way we are reinforced that message is if we continue to see each other and how this fight towards just being evolves, right? We're not new. We're not a newfound concept. We're not just a Western idea, but we are people that have been subdued, are people that are continuing to rise, and are people that will continue to show what our power actually looks like. So come out and see how we're not new, but experience how we continue to create what life will look like.
Thank you so much for that. Manny.
Join us and be that positive visibility that we need to show in the world. Join us and show the love that we bring when we come together. It's all about the positivity and the proper representation in our visibility, and not the negative narrative that they put on us. So just join us and share the love.
Thank you. Thank you. Derek, last but not least,
I would just say to folks, more so to what Dr. Carmarion was speaking to, with donations. Sometimes you have a certain dollar amount or something to give, and you might not feel like it's enough. But even if you contact one of the partner organizations and you say, I got enough to buy a plane ticket, or I can cover a meal, or I can sponsor someone to go, please do that. Those things matter. All donations matter. And so, like, I would just encourage folks to, like, and more specifically, people who are in allyship with us, because to Vanity's point, you know, we are a subdued community. We are dealing with underemployment, unemployment, and all of the different things, which a lot of people are dealing with, but trans people specifically. So we're asking our allies to dig deep and, you know, continue to help us make this happen.
thank you so much. I want to thank our panelists tonight for sharing your experiences, your leadership, your vision. Thank you to everyone who joined us tonight. As someone who deeply believes in our community, I know that gatherings like National Trans Visibility March is more about than just a moment. It's about connection. It's about building relationships. It's about reminding people that they belong. So I hope tonight conversation gave everyone a better understanding of the work behind the scenes, and and the incredible people that's helping the March, National Trans Visibility March 2026 possible. So we are excited for what's ahead. We hope and continue. We hope that you'll continue this journey with us. We'll see you guys in Puerto Rico, and you have a great evening, y'all. Peace.